Today, we're going to fix this Roland FA-06 synth. It's suffering from a broken switch here, so I'm going to replace it. In order to do that, I need to get to the circuit board the switch is mounted on. There are 3 circuit boards holding most of the buttons. This main middle one on this side, and one on this side. If I had faulty buttons in this board, I would need to remove these knobs and also this one before turning the synth over to get to the back. Similarly, if I had faulty buttons on this board, I would need to remove this knob. Here's the bottom of the synth. All these screws have to come out. Most of them are the same size, but this row is smaller. I've labelled this row A. Also, this row is smaller, row B. Right, I've taken all the screws out so I can remove the cover. This is the keyboard here. This is the board that we have to take out. That's the one that's at the base end of the synth. And this is the one that's got the sample pads and the sequencer controls. As I need access to the central board, I will need to remove these 2 boards. First, I'll just bend this tie back and remove the keyboard connector.
Yes.
I'm going to have to take this card out first, and I'm also going to have to take this one out. Now with this one, I think it's a question of undoing these bolts here, that one, and these 2. With this one, there's no bolts on the panel holding it in position. That's just a plate that covers the SD card. This one's held by screws going into posts. This here is the PCB for the back of the display, which I won't need to remove. If I had needed access to the switch PCB at the base end, I'd have to remove this card. Again, it's a matter of undoing the screws that attach it to the back panel. Okay, so here's these screws coming out now. This one's quite tight. Short one here and the 2 longer ones on this. I'll just cut some ties. This one goes round the choke. It doesn't hold the other cables. I've loosened this card. Now I'll have to tackle this one with the metal screen. I'll disconnect this cable to the screen PCB. We'll get to work with these screws. I've got this little magnet which makes the screwdriver magnetic so that it picks up the screws as they become free. I need to undo these ties. The same thing here. The ties are held in position by the screws. This one here. Now I need to undo the connectors holding this card to the one below it. Now I've got access to the board I need to repair. I'll cut the ties that are holding this cable to the board. This is a sticky pad that's stuck to both this board and this board, so I'm just going to unstick it. These screws all need to come out. These 3 here, marked 2.6, are smaller than the others, so you should make sure when putting the screws back in that the right sizes go back in the right holes. Right, all our screws are now out. We need to rotate this tie so that I can get the card out. And that connector needs to come out. This is the card, and that's the switch that's broken. Just going to zoom out so you can see the rest of it. This board would be quite easy to take out now. This is the rotary control. This is the PCB for the display. And then these here are the boards at the base end of the synth. We'll park the synth now and get on with the circuit board repair. This is the circuit board. These are all the switches, and that's the one that I need to replace. So I think first thing we're going to do is to take this plastic button off. And that's just a question of moving the lugs out. Here's my replacement part. I'll post details in the description. It's not quite the same, but as long as the height and the distance between the legs is the same as the original, it should work. Right, these are the two connections to the switch that need to be unsoldered and where the new one will go on. Okay, let's get on with it. I'll remove solder from these connections. Right, I'm going to see if I can get the switch out. Yes, it's coming out quite nicely. That's it out. We'll clean up the area around the solder pads. We'll fit the new switch in now. Now I want to make sure that this switch is flat down on the board as far as it will go. So what I'm going to do is put the plastic part back on the top of it to help hold the switch down. That's it in, so now we just need to solder the switch to the board. I've bent the tails to solder them. Right, now let's check the operation of the switch. Does it click? Yes, it does. Now to put the synth back together again. This connector needs to go in before we actually put the circuit board back. That's it. So I've got some ties to put in here, and I've got to put in all these screws. That's the PCB back in, and the cable ties replaced. So we can now fit these other boards. I've just taken this board away just now because I need to check it with something else. There are 3 screws to go in next to the back of the synth, and 3 screws on the other side towards the keyboard. These 3 screws also hold the black cable ties. Right, now I'm going to reconnect these. Make sure they are tight. Now we'll just do up the ties. And we can now connect this back to the display PCB again. We're going to put the tie back on the choke, just putting the head down so it doesn't interfere with any other components. Now we're going to put this board back in. Just connect it up first. That's it in. Now we can screw it to the back of the synth. I'll put a tie in here. Another one on the other side. Okay, so my battery ran out when I was recording the rest of the reassembly process, but this is what it should look like when finished. All the boards are back in, all the ties that I took out have been replaced, and the keyboard is connected back to the display PCB, and its connecting cable held with a tie. All we need to do now is put the bottom panel on and test the synth. Okay, so here it's all back together again, plugged in, making noises, and as you can see, this cursor button here, which is the one that I need to fix, has been fixed. There we go. Cursor button's working now.